And we're back on a Tuesday night, the 25th day of August, 2026. It's at least that way for another 10 minutes. And we're grateful to have the one and only Leslie Millwee with us. Only she would stay up with us this late and run and chew the fat with me. And it is grateful to see you, friend. How are you tonight on this Tuesday night? Some breaking news out of South Carolina tonight, some good news, some other things. What's going on with you tonight?
Well, my candidate won, so I'm happy. It was a real squeaker. Mike Mazzei won the Republican primary runoff against Gettner Drummond, and Mike was my choice. I worked very briefly on his campaign about a year and a half ago when he was first declaring his run, and I just did not have the time with everything. Something was going to have to give, so I've continued to support him. I always believed he had the strongest conservative platform, so I'm happy about that. I think he'll be our next governor. I was incredibly happy to see Darlene Graham pulled off a big win, actually.
She did. In fact, we're going to show the poll to everybody right now. We got the Gateway Pundit website up first. We're going to take that off. But yes, that's the big news tonight. That was probably one of the most watched races on the country, was between her and this Ralph Norman. And Darlene won fairly handily, 52.5 to 47.5, won by about 20,000 votes. And I think, that's a pretty substantial margin, and that's as of 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, so that's just within the last hour or so, hour and a half, and 99% of the votes are in. What do you think that says? As we was talking before the show came on, I think that Leslie, if nothing else, Trump's going to have a bigger ally in the Senate than he would have had with Ralph Norman. And I don't see her not winning the general come November. I think she's going to win South Carolina. South Carolina's a red state. And had the South Carolina Supreme Court not stuck its nose where it shouldn't have, I think Jim Clyburn would have been gone. And
I do too, yeah.
I think that they're messing and meddling with what the voters wanted has, left Clyburn in play on the House. But I think the Senate, is he a senator or a representative? I think he's a senator.
He's a representative.
He's a representative.
No, I think he's a representative,
yeah. But Darlene Graham's going to win, I think, the Senate race for South Carolina. That's just my opinion. And what say you on that tonight? But that's good news.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree about Jim Clyburn. He is a congressman, and he's 86 years old. And I think it's time for him to hang up the gloves, along with several others. I'm really tired of I wish some of them would allow some of these youngins like Brandon, what's his name down
Brandon Gill
in Texas. And see, when I'm this late, my brain stops functioning to a point. So I apologize.
Okay. No. We won't keep you long tonight. We're not going to be here long either. But I will say this, that I'm with you on that. And I love Brandon Gill, and he is Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. And he is a bright light in the Republican Party, and they are absolutely stupid for not making him more out there and more of a voice on the campaign trail. And that goes to other things I want to talk to you about tonight before we get into this crazy judge that is trying to stop the mail-in ballot win that Trump got yesterday at the Supreme Court. But you were telling me before the air that you're very concerned about Texas. And I would never thought that James Tirico would make any kind of dent, any kind of threat to Ken Paxton, even though Ken Paxton is basically a stone suit. But what's your friend telling you out there? Because it seems that he's sort of gaining some ground, and some of these polls are indicating that him and Paxton are pretty much neck and neck. And it shouldn't be that close. It just shouldn't be that close with this idiot that's running against Paxton.
They did the same thing with Beto O'Rourke. They tried to make us think it was much closer. Now, I do think this may be even closer than Beto, because I think Greg Abbott compared to Ken Paxton, there's no comparison. That's my opinion. I think Paxton and John Cornyn together, that was not the greatest of choices that we had. But considering what Cornyn has done to Trump, the thought of having a Ken Paxton, it would be great. And like you said, another one, Darlene Graham, locking in these seats. I know you mentioned before that you were concerned about Michigan. Did you see the Jesse Waters last night with him on?
I did, and I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about that. Alciad was basically, I thought, I've not seen a beatdown like that since Ivan Draco beat down Carl Weathers. I'm sorry. I don't think that there's been a fascist beatdown that says Rocky. But I will just say this, that this is the scary thing about that interview, though, Les. And we had Professor Nicholas Giordano on tonight, and I want to just say to our audience, if you didn't hear the early bird, oh my goodness, you got to go back. I'll send you the link. It's worth a listen to, Les. He is a professor up in New York, and he basically pointed out that the socialists are not running on anything but emotion, but they're also doing this, and this is why people are running to them in the Democrat Party. They're at least got a policy. The mainstream Democrats have not had a platform for years. And whether we like that policy or not, which we don't, at least these Democrat socialists are putting something out there for people to hang on to. And he's very concerned that because the Republican Party is not, because we're not doing the same either. What we're running on right now is commies are evil. And I sort of jokingly said what the Republican platform is right now. We suck bad as a Republican Party. We suck, but we know that they suck worse than we do. And they're hoping that's what's going to drive people to the polls in November to vote Republican. And there may be something to that. There may be some kind of fear that if we put these people in power, they're going to do some crazy stuff. But you know something? I felt like that we had to learn some lessons with Biden. We didn't listen to what people were warning about him, and we went right ahead and did it. And if this is what America wants, if America wants to throw away its republic and do this way, then so be it. But I will tell you what, the Republicans have a lot to do with this, because I looked at Rogers and over the weekend, and I swear I just wanted to reach into that camera and shake a knot in him and say, would you get your energy up and get Paxton? I'd say the same thing to Paxton. And even though how crazy it was last night, Alciad, at least he had the gumption to get on Jesse Waters and say something. Rogers gets on Fox, and all it is, well, he's bad. He believes in Palestine. I'll believe in America and all this stuff. Well, that's not going to win you an election, Mike. We need to know what you stand for. That's not what and that's what's got us in this mess in the Republican Senate, Les, is it not? You got a bunch of feckless, You got a bunch of feckless Republicans that are not doing nothing because they think the American people are going to give them a pass in November because the other party's more evil and more wicked. Well, I got news for them. They're about to get a bad lesson in politics that people vote energy. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But it's not. If you don't give no reason for people to vote for you, I don't care how slick your message is or how you hope people in fear of the other guy, they're not going to vote. Go ahead.
Yeah, and no, I agree with that. I think those are two candidates that are sorely lacking in personality, if nothing else. And I believe in what they say, but you're right. I mean, Republicans traditionally have a messaging problem. This is very evident in both places. And I would take a lesson from the Democrats from 2024. When all you run on is they're bad and we're good, that gets you nowhere.
That's exactly what he said tonight about Trump in 2024. That is exactly what the the Democrats did with Kamala Harris, and she hoped. And when she, you know when she lost that election was when she went on The View. They asked her a point blank question: would there be anything different that you would do if you get elected? Is there anything in the last 4 years that Joe Biden has done that you would change? She said, absolutely nothing. To me, that was the day that Kamala Harris lost that election. Well, the Republicans are basically saying the same thing. They're not offering anything new. And if you can't even get the Senate Majority Leader to pass a simple voter ID bill called Save the America Act, and he stalls and stalls and stalls and sends people home for 14 days in August when the country is in a political turmoil and storm. Buddy, I'm going to tell you something. I'm very concerned. I'm extremely concerned about what is going to come in November.
Well, and I have to tell you the truth. I am shocked that Trump allowed that to happen. And, you know, I mean, I understand he does not have power over everything. He has strong suggestions, but I think that is a crime in itself that that bill was not passed. I would love to see Thune gone. I would love to see, well, a lot of these people are going to be gone. You're going to have Cornyn gone and some of these rhinos, and I can't wait. So I think Trump is going to have more. I think we're going to keep the Senate. I really do.
I tend to believe we're going to keep the Senate. I do. It's going to be a little bit less. We've got a 55-45, but you know what? I would rather have a 52-48 and have 52 solid senators on my side than these three rhinos, than to have a 55-45 and not be able to count on three of them. And and then you've got the House is up in the air. I don't know, but Leslie, this is the thing. As bad as we say the Republicans are, I do believe that element of fear. And I think I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb tonight to the Christian church. I'm going out to the body of Christ tonight. We still have enough people in the body of Christ. If we all went out and voted, we would swamp these polls. And I'm going to tell you something. There would not be a Democrat elected for 100 years if Christians voted right. And I don't want to get on the soapbox about this tonight, but it frustrates the living below out of me that I see Christians voting for these commies. I see Christians voting for abortionists. I see Christians voting for pro-trans candidates. I see Christians sitting at home and acting like, well, the whole process is tainted and evil, so I don't think we need to vote anymore. That is the most asinine of asininities things I've ever heard in my life. But you got Christians saying stuff like that. So when you have the church acting like this, it just adds fuel to my anxiety about what's going to happen in November. But if we did right, if we voted right, and I'm not even talking about the right party, I'm just talking about vote right. If the candidate is telling you, like Mr. Al-Sayed did last night, that generation of the genital mutilation.
It's like circumcision. Was that supposed to be?
That was an insult. That was an anti-Semitic slur. It was basically slapping at the Jewish practice of circumcision. He knew good and well what he was saying. And again, Christians, when they don't vote, I saw something yesterday. When Christians sit at home, Democrats get elected, and that's absolutely spot on. It's spot on.
It is. It is. Yeah, I don't think we had a real overwhelming vote today. I'll be curious in Oklahoma. I think people were a little more charged up because of Lindsey Graham's death. But, the governorship here was pretty important. And I think everyone believes that whoever won this nomination will be the next governor. And
you're talking about in Oklahoma.
Believe that. Yeah, in Oklahoma. So I think Darlene Graham will win too, don't you?
I do. I do. I don't see her going down in the general. I don't.
No, I don't either.
And again, what Leslie's talking about, folks, we'll just show you this right here. It's Mike Mazie won, and I'm trying to get the poll up here. Election news tonight. Mike Mazie beat the
Gettner Drummond, who's
Gettner
the
Drummond, yes,
Attorney General.
Attorney General, and that was a big win tonight because he was more conservative, wasn't he? And I'm trying to get this to
he's
show
much
up.
more conservative. Yeah, Gettner owns, there's a very, very large county here in Oklahoma, and this kind of blew my mind. Of this huge county, he owns almost 13% of the land in this hundreds of thousands of acres of county. He is related to the pioneer woman, Drummond.
Right.
Drummond, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's their whole family. They have a lot of wealth, and I'm not saying that's bad. Don't get me wrong. But I think he was more the slick, wealthy landowner kind of thing. And I think that turned people off. And he has made some not so conservative decisions. One being that he did not go after, they were trying to put a ban on transgender surgeries at this place in Oklahoma at a hospital. He refused to get involved with it, and people were infuriated. Right. They wanted him to, file a suit against them to stop them, an injunction. And so I think he really cooked his goose on that one. And just, the one thing Bill and I were talking about tonight, I am amazed at the lying that goes on political ads. It is so unbelievable that they can do that.
Well, it shows in the polls, too, because Mike, he won by about 2,000 votes. He won 50.3 to 49.7. So this was not a runaway without a doubt. This was a lot closer than the Graham thing. My question to you is, you feel like he's going to win the general, though, correct?
I do. I do. We're a very Republican state. And again, he's not the most dynamic human, but I think he's fiscally, and I know him. I know he is a very strong Christian man. He is opposed to abortion and big government, and he stands for everything I do. He was more closely aligned to me than the other guy by far.
Good.
So,
well, that's good
news. That's what you have to take to the bank,
I know that we're running a little late tonight. We're going to get you back on maybe later this week because I'd like to talk to you about several other things, but I did want to come on and talk to you about the election tonight a little bit, and then we're going to take some questions from our audience. But I do want to run a couple of things by you real quick and get your opinion. Have you seen, I know you have, the situation with Clancy, and I'm going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about this judge. But have you been appalled at how many number of women have come to her defense? And I know a lot of this is liberal white women, but in fact, I'm showing a clip right now. Former Obama nearly cries and storms off live TV after Thomas Corbett Dillon blasts women defending Lindsey Clancy. She says, "I've had it with you." And I know that there's a lot of people that are trying to blame all this on the drugs, Leslie. And I have a lot of sympathy. And let me change that. I don't have sympathy for her, but I understand that she had some problems. But I don't care how many mental problems you've got. That does not give you a right to strangle 3 babies to death. We've got their picture up on our screen tonight, and I'm telling you, these 3 kids should be alive right now. And she is a cold-blooded murderer. There was a guy in the courtroom yesterday that testified. I don't know if he was doing it for the state or maybe he was a defense witness and he accidentally let the cat out of the bag. But he as good as said that there was premeditation. When he did his talking to her and he got her in a 101, she'd been thinking about this for a while. And seeing now all these crazies and these loonies that are backing her, they don't even think, they think this was just she got up one morning, these drugs kicked in, so I'll go out and kill my 3 children. And that's the society that we're living. That's the breakdown of society that we're in right now, friend. And then you've got this copycat killing up north yesterday. Another mother did this. And basically, as good as said, Lindsey Clancy's my hero. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, I'm mortified at the women that I see protesting and taking up for her. Um, the bottom line is, I would say mental illness is not an excuse to murder your children. Um, I looked through all the lists. You know, I come from a background of pharmaceuticals, and I sold psychiatric drugs for many, many years. She was on such an incredible cocktail of
Of
medications
course.
that blew me away. Blew me away. I mean, about 3 of those drugs could put a horse down, and she's on like 15 drugs. Shame on the doctors and shame on the medical professionals or somebody, her psychiatrist or her PCP or someone not monitoring that. And the second thing, shame on the husband for not, if he felt so comfortable that she's crying for help and she's on all these meds, would you leave your children alone with them?
Well,
With her?
that's a tough call because again, if he that hindsight's always 2020, and I I see your point in that. I put it. I tell you what, I would have made it mandatory for her to do. I'd have been putting her away. I would have
Yeah.
called the state and said my wife is you know, and that's hard to do. And I say I do that, Leslie. I mean, again, I'm not because I don't know. That's a hard call. And again, all of this reeks. There's so many unanswered questions, and I think you make a good point. I say I would do that, but then again, how could you bring yourself to do it? I would hope. I know my wife, and I look at you and Bill, and I think that most of us, with any kind of common sense, if we felt like we were a danger to ourselves and a danger to our children, that we ourselves would say, "Look, I need some help. Okay, I need some help," and get some kind of help. And this is what the guy was saying yesterday. The mother was evidently clear enough in her mind, okay, to recognize these drugs were harming her, but she kept taking them. And then he said, look, he said, in my discussions with her in these psychiatric sessions, she never blamed her issue on the drugs. She was, and he had asked her about the kids, and there was some indication by this witness on the stand yesterday that she had been thinking about doing harm to them. See, and then that brings up the psychiatric thing. Why didn't the psychiatric people come forth and say, you need to put this lady away before she harms your kids?
Well,
So
absolutely.
anyway,
And
there's a lot of failure in a lot of places. I'm not
yeah,
disagreeing with the fact there's a lot of blame to go around about this, but I will tell you this. Ultimately, I think that when we start as a society, if we start putting the blame on anything other than the person, we're going down a road we don't want to go. Because then anybody could go out and kill a kid and say, "Hey, the
right.
drugs made me do it. My
Right,
trick
right.
made me do it."
Well, I
So
mean, it was a
that's all I'm saying.
colossal failure on so many levels. I mean,
Yes,
I think she was failed by the system. She was failed by the doctors, by her husband, by her mother. Um, you can blame the lousy healthcare system. There's a lot of things that you can say contributed, but she ultimately is the one that made the decision to do what she did.
and
And
that's all I'm trying to say. And again, I want to make it clear. I don't throw stones at anybody. I look at these beautiful, precious kids that will never see another sunrise or sunset,
mm,
and they're in heaven. These kids are in heaven.
of course,
And but what I am appalled at is these protesters outside this courtroom and the $1 million. Leslie, she's raised $1 million. Carmelo Anthony's
yeah.
family raised $680,000 after he didn't he was denied a retrial yesterday. And
Thank goodness.
how in the world do you get that many people and that much money raised for a murderer? And I mean I know that we sound sort of that's mean spirited to some people, but again, we're in a society, we're in a time that nobody takes responsibility for what they do. Nobody looks in the mirror and says, I'm the fault of this. And the way I look at it, and I read one comment tonight about, well, she's in a wheelchair, don't you? I don't care if she's in a wheelchair or not.
Oh my gosh.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. if that's being, if we're going to say, okay, well, everybody in a wheelchair gets a pass, you can take a wheelchair and strangle 3 kids, then people will start saying, well, let me just get in a wheelchair so I get sympathy from everybody.
Right,
And then
right.
this is what I'm saying. This is a spiritual, societal issue. I pray for Lindsay Clancy's soul tonight. I pray that she finds Jesus Christ. I really do. I pray that the husband finds Christ through this. This is a situation where Christ needed to be the head of the home, and he wasn't. And I'm not saying that in judgment, but these kids now are dead. They're gone. And for our society to just blow this off and then people get a GoFundMe to free her, I mean, come on.
Oh, I know.
Where are we at, buddy? Where are we at?
Yeah, and the same thing with the kid in Dallas.
Same thing.
It's mind-blowing. It's our society. It's a different planet than it was 30 or 40 years ago. We have generational change that is evil, and it is spiritual warfare, and that's what we're dealing with every day. And we can look at stories like this and know that is the ultimate truth. There's no question. If you're a Christian and you look at this, the big picture, there's no way you cannot see that if you follow the Lord.
Absolutely. And again, we as Christian believers, we have sympathy and we pray for people. And even because, look, the Apostle Paul was a murderer before he came to Christ.
Right.
But that situation was a little different in a way because she's not, this is a family evidently that, again, I don't know their religious background, but evidently there's not one. And but I'm just appalled at the sympathy going to her, and you hear very little in these protests about the 3 kids. In other words, there's no pictures of those kids in these protests. It's all Lindsay. She's been making a hero. She's been made a hero.
These are the women that believe abortion at full term is a good thing.
That's correct. That's correct. So that's what they believe.
This is the way these people think. This is their value system or lack of it. This is their mantra. And we have to understand that. And it's hard as Christians for somebody to not value life the way we do. But I think that's the reality we're living in now. And that is sad. And you're right. It all comes back to Satan is alive and well with all of his demons on this earth.
Do you think there's going to be copycats? Because there's already been one. I think in Massachusetts, there's already been a lady that's done it and used the same defense. Well, the medicine made me do it. And she's swearing up and down that the doctors forced her to take stuff and it made her lose her mind. So she felt like she had the right to kill her children. And that story, I'm trying to find the link to it, but it was reported yesterday, I think, where was it at, AP or something. But that's what I'm concerned about, is that if Lindsay Clancy walks out of that courtroom, then that's going to give a green light to any mother or any father that wants to kill their family. Say, hey, I'm doped up, so I got a right to kill. It's not a good thing. It's not a good place for us to be in a society, my friend.
No, and again, it goes back to taking the what happened and saying, this is my fault. I did this. I should be punished. I did have extenuating circumstances and A, B, and C, and maybe that will give her leniency. But you and I both know that, especially in Massachusetts, if she goes to a mental facility, I guarantee you she'll be out in 5 or 6 or 10 years. And if that happens, what if she starts having more children?
I know. Well, but this is the crazy thing, and Cleo makes a good point. She's not really demonstrated remorse. I know people would disagree with that and say, well, she's crying in the courtroom. Well, I guarantee you, you see the images of these babies strangled to death, I'd be crying too. And look at myself in the mirror and say, oh, I'm responsible for that. It probably does tear her heart up. But no, she's not showed remorse. And this is what drives me nuts with these insane loons out there protesting the trial. They're not remorseful for the death. They just think she's being a victim. She's the victim. She's the victim and not the babies. But you mentioned the length of term. That's the other thing that's messed up with our society. And you're right. What happens if she gets out, meets another man, and maybe this crazy husband maybe takes her back or whatever, and they have children again? Are we to say that those children are not in danger? I mean,
Oh, I know.
that is a legitimate question.
I mean,
Legitimate question.
yeah, even if she's in a mental institution, who's to say that she couldn't get pregnant there? I mean, I think the risk involved with her not being in a real prison setting, that is scary to me. I don't know how you can unring that bell and not move forward with that thought that she needs to serve the rest of her life in prison. Take responsibility and accept that. This should have never gone to trial, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know that it accomplishes anything except to let everyone know how evil she is. But this dark side of it with these women, it it's stunning to me. It's shocking. And so was the Carmelo Anthony thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's his same boat. I mean, he stabs a white kid right in the chest and then plays the victim, raises $680,000 and claims that the kid intimidated him. For goodness sake, I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Carmelo Anthony needs to spend the rest of his natural, pathetic life in prison. I pray he finds Jesus. Okay. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, Leslie. It's going to sound very harsh. I would give Lindsay Clancy, I would put the death penalty on the table in these murders. If it was proven that it's premeditated, that you killed 3 infants by strangling that could not defend themselves. This ain't some bank robbery gone bad. This ain't some, you're not dealing with an adult. You get in a fight and they get killed or something. She strangled 3 innocent kids. And I'm going to go even further. I am appalled at this abortion industry in America. Like you mentioned a while ago, this 24-month thing, and maybe it was Professor that mentioned this tonight. The Democrats at one time, they were campaigning on the fact that we want abortion, but we don't want it all the time. We want it monitored. 16 weeks, 12 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks. They were arguing that, the baby was protected up to certain lengths. The baby's no longer protected even after birth. We found that out with Ralph Northam from Virginia when he was willing to say if the baby is stillborn and the mother don't want it, she can basically choke it and break its neck on the table and we'll just make it comfortable, but we'll kill the baby. That's apostasy. Yeah. That is demonic thinking and insanity. But let me tell you something. It is no different than strangling 3 kids to death. I'm sorry. No. There's no justification for this. None.
Well, we don't have the same justice idea that they have. I mean, that's the bottom line. You know what breaks my heart, too, about hearing about these babies that are 30 weeks, 32, 34, full-term babies, basically, that are being murdered. Because it's murder, because they could live just fine if they were born. They would so make it. I have 2 32-week babies. They were 2 months early. And let me tell you, they were absolutely perfect.
Yes.
The only thing wrong with them was the fact that they weighed 4 pounds and they had to gain weight. And that is absolutely, they had no problem. And that always gives me a good moral compass of how I feel about it. And when I think of a baby that's only 32 weeks along, everybody goes, that's not full term and everything. Well, I had 2 that were literally perfect babies that were small. And to think on any level that you could murder that precious baby. And if you gave birth to this baby, guess what? There are hundreds of thousands of people that would gladly take your baby.
And that's what's so ugly about all of this, that there are thousands of people that would take. Look, if she was having a problem raising these 3 kids, she could have put these kids up for adoption. I would have respected her a lot more. I mean, people do that all the time. And because things in life happen with mothers. And if she was having problems raising them, if the couple and her, him and her and the husband was having problems, at least give these kids a chance to live. I'm not saying that's any more perfect, but it's a lot better than killing them. You know,
Well,
and
heck
I know it
yes,
sounds sort of
absolutely.
I mean, it's just to talk about it, it just leaves you feeling dirty. It just feels you like you want to go take a bath with your clothes on. It does. I mean, it's just dirty. And I'm with you. And going back to the abortion thing, look, that's what makes the Massachusetts governor thing. What did the bill in Massachusetts, my buddy, she's basically saying that up to 34 months you can kill that baby. So
Oh, yeah.
you would have pretty been told if you'd lived in Massachusetts, Leslie, kill the babies. You're 32 months. You know, you're having problems or early, kill them. That's how they would have viewed you in Massachusetts. That's nutty, isn't it? It's demonic, by the
Well,
way.
I mean, this same thing happened to this nurse from Alaska that was a surrogate for this
Yes,
couple.
yes.
You know, she
Come on.
wanted her to abort that boy at 22 weeks.
Right.
Well, he was probably 2 or 3 weeks away from being able to live outside the womb. She could feel him moving. He was a real person. She was not going to do that. And kudos to this girl for doing that. For having the moral character. I'm kind of iffy on some of these surrogate things, but I've tried not to be judgmental because I've been able to have my children. I don't know what I would do if I so desperately wanted to have a family and I couldn't conceive. So I get that. There's a part of me as a mother that understands that need and that longing to have a family. But it gets into legal stuff like this. I just don't know it's the way God made it to be. Adoption, that's different, you know. But yeah, I think it's absolutely heartbreaking. And you know, the biggest thing to me about abortion is it was targeted against Black people.
Yes.
And they have, they are the large majority of aborted babies are African American, and it breaks my heart to think how manipulated Margaret Sanger was and how this didn't. I can't believe from a racism standpoint that more Black people don't feel that and understand that, because it breaks my heart.
No, I'm with you. I am. And it just, again, all of this is playing into a society that has lost their way with God. I've got a couple of other things I want to share with you real quick and let you go. This judge, I want to go back and pull the Gateway Pundit side up and read you the story real quick. She, tonight, we'll talk, there's the Obama thing. We've got all these stories in our Telegram room by tomorrow. But this is the judge from, I think it's Taiwan. But anyway, Obama appointed U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani, that's her last name, Talwani, escalated her war against President Trump's election integrity, declaring that the U.S. Postal Service violated her nationwide injunction by completing new security regulations for federal mail-in ballots just one day. Basically, after the Supreme Court upheld, for now, President Trump's executive order and the new Postal Service rules, she says that the post office violated her earlier injunction. She's aggressively accusing the Trump team of complete noncompliance, and this is complete warfare. And again, I don't know what she thinks she's going to do about it. She blasted the defendants for ignoring her explicit directive not to initiate or complete rulemaking. And she accused the administration of having feigned complete compliance with her earlier injunction in the California versus Trump case. What do you do if you're President Trump? I think I just basically tell her to, they need to impeach her, which the Senate, the do nothing Senate, is not going to do. But
no, I think you ignore her.
Ignore her.
Of course, for Trump, that's very difficult. That's not his nature to let something like this go. I wish he would, though, because the power of silence would be tremendous. And sometimes that needs to happen because guess what? Her opinion doesn't mean squat. And if they want to try to impeach her, I would love Trump to endorse that and say, this person, she's a rogue judge. She's a liberal judge. Let's get her out of here. But even if she stays in power, we won the victory. Trump won this. Let it, I get how angry and upsetting this is, because you know what, Chris? They just don't let up.
No, I'll agree.
They just
totally agree, buddy.
They won't stop.
By the way, your old buddy Hillary, she's out there tonight saying that the rise of socialism in the Democratic Party is healthy. Let me see if we got the video here. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Yeah. No, we don't. Anyway, that was one and only Hillary Clinton. Oh, here it is right here. Let's see if you can listen to it.
The Democratic Party right now is, I think, going through a kind of experiment. Like, who can actually respond, particularly to young people's very real concerns about where they are at this point in their lives and what kind of future do they have for themselves. And I think that's healthy.
So, talking about young people and Hillary, that's like an oxymoron. She looks like Frankenstein's daughter. But anyway, what is your thoughts about that? Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, both, Leslie, they pretty much have folded like a matchstick in a wind. They've capitulated to this left-wing. Schumer out there was yesterday saying this is, again, the energy that they brought to the Democrat Party is healthy. And Victor Davis Hanson tonight said he actually called Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer Dr. Frankenstein because they don't realize that they're about to be eaten up by the monster that they've destroyed. And
absolutely,
I think that's what they're going to find out, because if the DSA takes over that party, Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm going to say this, the Clintons' influence is gone, because they're wanting to move away from all the old guard. They're wanting to put a fresh new face and new paint on this party, and it's not going to bode well for America.
No, and I like what you said earlier. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. I hope people, before that happens, I hope they understand and get some understanding. I have to believe that those normals that are in Michigan are going to see through this, and I just can't understand how they would be elected, but, and I don't know. What do you think's going on in Georgia, too? I know that's a pretty tight race, isn't it?
Well, I think one thing that all of us, me included, you, all of us need to do, we need to be careful at these polls, and I get sort of bent out of shape about them, but I want to just say this tonight to our audience. I don't care if the poll is showing the Republican up by 50 or the Republican behind by 50, we need to vote. And we need to act like that this is a tie race and that we are in a marathon, not a sprint. And I do not believe John Ossoff is going to win. I would think that if the only way he wins is if they cheat again. Look, Warnock and him both were put in those two seats. Georgia, I grew up in Georgia. I'm from Georgia, born and raised in Atlanta. Stayed there till I was in my teens, and Daddy moved us back home to where they were from in South Georgia. Georgia has been red ever since I've known it to be red until recently. And for us to be having two Democrat senators represent us is unheard of. And I do not believe that they won. I thought Kelly Loeffler was a plant to lose. And also when Warnock beat the other candidate that they had put up against him, was a joke. And look, Stacey Abrams almost beat Brian Kemp. And I cannot believe that this is how Georgians want. It's all, it's same thing, Leslie, with California. You get these urban centers of LA, San Francisco, San Diego, and they control the state just like New York City controls New York. Well, Atlanta and Fulton and DeKalb counties control the state of Georgia and Savannah, and predominantly black, and they predominantly vote very liberal, very blue, and deep blue, even in southwest Georgia. So I do not believe, though, that the state overall wants John Ossoff back in that power. I would be shocked if he wins re-election, even though the polls are showing him up. I don't think we need to be listening to polls right now. Look, between now and November, that's an eternity in politics. 2 days is an eternity in politics. 3 months, it's like Wouldn't Buzz Lightyear say to infinity and beyond? It's infinity and beyond.
Well, so much can happen.
So much can happen.
We know that from 2016 with Trump. We know that with 2020. In February of 2020, if you had said Trump is going to be defeated, the economy was in high gear. COVID changed everything. And so, we have a very recent situation where we ought to understand that, time can change things. So we don't know. I hope that we as Republicans do a better job of messaging and getting the message out. And I like Jesse Waters having on Saeed. I thought that was brilliant, really. I think he ate him up and spit him out. But and it's just like Mondami. These people are charismatic, and for some reason, Democrats think that makes a difference.
Well, I hate to tell you, though, in some cases it does.
It does.
But that's my point. The Republicans have got to meet that energy, and they're not doing it. And this idea that they can run on this platform, well, the commies are evil and they're going to do you harm if you don't elect us, is not going to fly this time. They're going to have to put some policy on the table. But I hate to say it, I don't even know if that's going to make a difference now, because these people, like Giordano tonight, this Chevalier girl up in New York, he said that the Republican that's running against her is not even running ads. It's like that Republican is just like a paper match and a paper cardboard. And this is what frustrates us with the right. It's what frustrates us with the Republicans. They're not putting up a fight against this socialist push. We are. People on these shows are saying it. Jesse Waters, I'm like you. I thought it was brilliant last night that he had him on, and just let the country see how crazy and nut this guy is. And but even showing him as crazy and nut as he is, it still gets back down to energy and voting. People have got to go to those polls and vote. And I would not be shocked. And it's like Nicholas Giordano said tonight, not all of these candidates will win, Leslie, but each time one does, it just puts the country more on a path down this road. And that is the scary part that we need to look at as we close tonight.
I agree. And I hope that the RNC will throw a lot of money in Texas and Michigan. And I think Susan Collins will pull it off again. She's the magician of pulling things off. I'm a little weirded out about the Alaska thing and the way they vote. It's like California top 2 advance, kind of weirdness. So I'm concerned about that. But despite all that going on, I think the bottom line is going to come back down to the economy. I hear my very conservative friends say, hey, I just had to pay $60 to fill up. It was $35 about 6 months ago. So I get that. I do get that. That's not the only thing. I do think grocery prices have stabilized. But, things continue to go up. Well, you got to call a spade a spade.
I know you do. And I will say this as we close down. This may be something we can talk about next time. The Trump 2.0 is not the same as Trump 1.0. And this has been a different feel to this administration this go around. And you know what's so disappointing to me is he's got a better cabinet this time than he did last time. He had some traitors, and he had some Judases, and he had some scumbags that were around him in that first administration because Trump didn't know any better. The people that he put together in this cabinet, I feel like is one of the best cabinets in the world, but we're not getting the same results.
Ever.
We're not getting the same results and things that I would have thought that the economy by now, because we're 2 years into his presidency just about, that it would already be percolating. Now, I'll throw this at you as we close. Maybe, perhaps, his hope is that the Republicans can squeak out a victory in November, and give him full power again, and then he can put the gas to the pedal. And the only hope the Democrats can do is the judges. And then he can just fast track this stuff to the Supreme Court like he's doing, like he did the mail-in ballots and like he's done other things. Look, the ballroom is going to go on now. These judges, I think, that doing these rulings, they know good and well they're going to get slapped down later. It's just a delay. It just pauses Trump's progress. But I do believe that we may see a different Trump in January 27. I know this.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
If the Democrats win, we're definitely going to see a different Trump. We're going to see him impeached. We're going to see him impeached. That's what we're going to see. And countless hearings, and it's going to be the ugliest 2 years this country's ever experienced. So I say this to the church and the Christians tonight. It's on us. It's on us to pray, and it's on us to go vote. Listen, it's late. I know you got to get some rest for tomorrow. I love you and I appreciate you. And listen, let's do this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's come back and talk maybe later this week. I'll let you know. And
okay,
go Astros, right? And take their manager with them.
Their manager, their general manager, and their manager.
Yeah,
so, Dana Brown's also leaving. So
yep.
We're gonna have a shakeup. We beat the Yankees tonight in a delightful game, so that's always positive.
Whenever the Yankees win, it's a good day in America, or lose, I should say. So we Southerners, we're rooting for the Astros. We do not like the Yankees, and it's like James Akers says, the Yankees are a team that. You know, it's a good year when they're out of the pennant race by June. So,
exactly.
Anytime they lose, it's a good day in America. Listen, friend, God bless you. Get some rest, and I'll say goodnight to these folks. Have a good one. Thank you, Leslie, for being with us tonight. Good night. Folks, it's been good to see you tonight. We're not going to keep you much longer because it is getting late. It's 10:41, or 11:41, I should say. So it is almost 1 o'clock in the East. Listen, we thank you for being with us tonight. And we hope that you've enjoyed the show. And I want to read a couple of comments. If you got anything to say it right now. Carol, I'm agreeing with you that Al-Sayed won't win if people will vote. And the governor's race is also too important as well. Cleo made a great statement a while ago. She said the aggressor is now the victim. And that includes Tyler Robinson, that includes Lindsay Clancy, and Hamas. And that is an excellent, excellent point, excellent analogy of that. And I want to thank Cleo for being with us tonight, helping us out there. And so forth. Any questions, any thoughts before we leave? I've got a lot to say, but we're running late tonight, and we've still got some video to play. We've got a new guest coming Thursday night. We'll announce that tomorrow. Mrs. Magdalene Rose has got us somebody coming, and we'll talk to her tomorrow and get the information about that. But we hope that you've enjoyed the show tonight. I want to just double check one thing before we let you go. I thought some of these videos would already have downloaded, which they have not. But I do want to say we're going to be talking. Oh, this is Dan Bongino. Talking to Dinesh D'Souza today, and I thought this was an excellent video of him and what Dinesh had to say about certain things about Saeed last night. Roll the tape real quick.
We've got this infection, Dinesh, you and I have seen. It comes and goes over time in the Republican Party, and thankfully, the good people in the Republican Party that are at space squash it out. It's this collective guilt thing. And notice I didn't just say anti-Jew thing, although that's a prominent part of it. Because it's not just anti-Jew. It's the first we get the Saturday people, then we get the Sunday people. It's anti-evangelical. It's anti-Protestant. The Jews are just an easy target. However, at some point, if you're going to run on this hate-filled garbage, you're going to have to show some constituency. And last night in Florida is more evidence. There's no base for this in the Republican Party. There's a home for it in the Democrat Party, but not here.
It's not just anti-Israel, because you notice that it's also becoming now pro-Islam. We see this, for example, in Tucker's own trajectory. He started out with Netanyahu bad, and then he expanded to Israel bad, Jews bad, and then suddenly he was talking about Islam not so bad, and Sharia not so bad, and Iran not so bad. So this is not merely a fixation on one issue. It ultimately corrupts the soul and the political soul completely.
I'm not Jewish. It's not at all relevant to this conversation. I abhor and absolutely vitriolically hate collective guilt campaigns. That's a leftist victim identity politics thing. If this is part of your movement, I've said before, check me out. Like, I want no piece of that.
And Dan makes some good points there, but I disagree with him. It is a Jewish thing. It is a Jewish issue. And a lot of these candidates, if not all of them, are very anti-Semitic. One final video tonight, and we're going to let this speak for itself. Roll the tape.
That I found the account of hallucinations to be, as she described it, it would be very, very unusual to experience it that way. Never having, not before, not since, constantly for 18 minutes. However, if this was a thought, an unwelcome, intrusive thought, but still a thought, that's basically, this is your last chance, you have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself, then that would be consistent with thoughts that she'd been experiencing for some time. She'd been having thoughts about harming herself, that she was, it was going to be very difficult for her to do this in a way that made sense.
And what he's basically saying there, and Grant Godwin says, this is Dr. Hilburn. He's the forensic psychologist that evaluated Lindsay Clancy and thinks Lindsay fabricated her hallucination story. He thinks, by extension, it was most likely premeditated. And I didn't want you to think I was breaking that stuff up. And as Grant says, y'all still going to defend this demon. I'm not going to be name calling tonight. That's his words. I will tell you this dear lady needs help. These children are gone, and God bless their memory and receive them into his arms. We got a lot more to say about all this week. Listen, thank you for being with me tonight. Now, we will not be with you in the morning as we normally are on the Bible study, but we will be back here tomorrow night on the Face side for Wednesday night Bible study and service. And then we've got Thursday night a new guest, and a late guest too will be a double feature. And then Friday night we'll have a show sometime. It may be earlier in the evening. But we got a couple more shows, maybe 3 this week, and some video and some other things that we may be doing, just depending on my schedule. But we're grateful that you've been with us tonight. We want to thank all of you for being with us. Congratulations to Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene, and the late Lindsey Graham. And grateful that she won in South Carolina. Grateful that Mike Mazzelli won in Oklahoma for governor. And let's continue, folks, our diligence and our vigilance to pray for our country for these elections. Get out and vote. And we're grateful that you've enjoyed the show tonight. If you enjoyed Leslie Millwee, put some fire in that house. And we thank you for being with us. Good night to Marine Girl, looks like. She's checked out on us. Good night, all. We're glad you came, Marine. And good to see. Harriet Hunter says here in Australia it's compulsory to vote. Otherwise, we get fined. Maybe we should do that here, Harriet. I don't know. I don't think if people even was threatened with fine, and some of them wouldn't even go vote. So, I don't know. Stephen Feinhoy, good to see you tonight. God bless you over on Facebook. Good to see the Dolans tonight, Pat and Deb. They posted earlier, they said, we are a drug-filled society. You can get drugs for anything now, which that is what is scary. I will agree with that. That's what Leslie was saying, too. Look, folks, I'm not trying to lessen the severity of how many drugs this girl was on, because you can make her responsible for what she's happened, but the drugs have to be addressed too. And there was both issues at play here, but it still didn't give her a right to kill those babies. And I'll leave it at that. God bless you. God bless your families, and God bless this great nation of America. Get some rest out there. See you back here tomorrow night, and then Thursday night and Friday night here on the Mac Files. Great week ahead. Great guests already. Nicholas Giordano and Leslie Millwee, 2 great Tuesday night guests. Put some fire in that house, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Cleo, for being out there tonight. God bless you all. Take care now. Good night.